Well, good evening from San Antonio, Texas. I'm Matt Scherer, retired Air Force non-commissioned officer and the founder of the CareerRecon program, and also the author of a book called LinkedIn for Military. But tonight, I'm here with probably one of my mentors and one of my friends, Dan Collins. So Dan, welcome to CareerRecon. How's everything in the District of Columbia?
Great, Matt. And looks like we were at the sunny beach. However, it's this modern technology.
You mean you're not sitting in front of a beach right now, Dan?
No.
In your heart, you are.
Yeah, that's right. That's where my heart is.
Your heart's on the beach. So tonight we're going to cover how we can find mentors and how to use Veterati to find mentors. So you ready to get started?
Sure.
Let's do this by, first thing I think, before we get started, let's talk about your timeline in the military and your experiences with transition. So
right.
You served in the Marine Corps for a while, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I did 12 years active duty, and then when I left the Marines, it was not one of the best transitions in the world. So that's where I got into this business, is that I didn't want anybody to go through a bad transition like I did. I did almost 1 year trying to find reasonable employment. And then I was going back on active duty, and all of a sudden somebody called from the federal government. I had applied, I don't know how many times, and they saved me from going back on active duty I would have lost a rank going back on active duty. I had taken my physical already. And then I backed into the federal government. I did that for 25 years, actually doing pretty well there. And then I transitioned. I've retired now, 25 years. I retired, and I've transitioned over to a contractor, which I was able to do that pretty smoothly because somebody I knew while I was in the government, he actually went to a contractor, and he was pretty high up in the company, and so I just kept hanging on to him and I always call him my mentor. And basically, when I retired, I went through the turnstile and came back as a contractor for the agency that I worked for. But that company, then, that was a nice company, but that contract kind of dried up after 4 years, and that company couldn't win a new contract to save their life. And so basically we were at the end of the contract, and they said, well, here's your 6-month notice, which was, you don't normally get that, but in this case, since they couldn't win a contract, they knew when the contract was over. And I took 6 months to find my new job, my new company. I was with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and that was the client. And they went to firm fixed price contracts. And so that meant that they couldn't afford people like me who worked on cost plus award fee contracts. So I not only had to find a new company, but I also had to find a new client. So off looking around the intel community, this is when I started LinkedIn, doing things on LinkedIn and expanding my network there. Can't say that LinkedIn necessarily found me a job, but what it did do was connected me to the veteran community, which I found quite amazing. And I've been doing this now for about 2 years of helping veterans. And, I've got my own following now. And I did, after 6 months, I did find a company, and I've transferred over to my client now is the National Reconnaissance Office. So I'm set in the intelligence community. But I think the bigger thing here is that I've done this 4 major transitions in my life, and I've got a lot of experience in the transition space and a lot of experience in different things you can do. I've also learned a lot about the what I call the 4 phases of transition. So yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about our objectives tonight. We can talk about those 4 phases. So here's our 4 objectives tonight. You know, why military professionals need a mentor, how you can find a mentor, how to work with a mentor, and how can I become a mentor. So those are what we're going to talk tonight. Dan, why do you think military professionals need a mentor?
Yeah, well, so again, I talk about that very bad transition, and that, yeah, so I basically had this idea that I was going to work for a company kind of like the Home Depot, except it was called Heckinger's back then. And I enjoyed doing that. I worked there in the evenings, and I drove my forklift around, and I became the warehouse supervisor, and boy, I was on my way, right? So, and I had 2 4-year degrees, 12 years of military experience. So my stuff didn't stink, right? I go waltzing up to the store manager's office and said, I would like to get picked up into the trainee program, okay? And basically I was laughed out of his office. You've got to do 10 years on the floor before you can do that. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I've got 90 days for the end of service, and you're telling me I got to do 10 years on the floor. You know, you don't have any way I can make that time up. And he basically said no. And that was the end of that idea. And then, you know, so, but the other thing was that I knew, you know, that I just was such, you know, God's gift to mankind, right? That I could do this transition alone. And I had so many bad experiences that, you know, again, it was so bad that I was going back on active duty where I was comfortable. So that's why I say you don't go do this alone. Mentors are here to help you and not go it alone.
So now this is the part where we're going to talk about your role at Veterati. And I'm going to let you take over the screen here in just a second, Dan, so you can show people how to sign up for Veterati and how it works. And so I think some people know about it. And if you do know about it, please accept our apologies, but we want to make sure that people understand how to use Veterati. So Dan, I'm going to turn this controls of this webinar over to you and watch you give a quick briefing on how people can use Veterati.
Okay.
And while we're doing that, while he's getting that set up, if anybody has any questions, please raise your hands, or better yet, send something in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat as well as working with Dan on this. Okay, Dan, over to you.
Right. Okay, well, I guess I've already signed in. This is what a mentor screen looks like. Maybe earlier we should have, well, anyway. So the first screen, you get into Veterati. You want me to go back to the first, how does somebody sign up? I could do that real quick, I think.
Yes, if you could you sign up?
If I log out.
That'd be great.
Yeah, okay. So you come in to the beginner screen here, right? And so for people who want to have a mentee relationship, you sign up on the left side, and then mentors, of course, sign in on the right side, okay? And that is important to know, because if you're new and you're not ready to mentor, then you want to be on the mentee side so that you can view the profiles of the mentors. Okay, and it's real simple. You sign in with LinkedIn. And so if you haven't signed in, you know, you can basically type your password in, and it will start creating the profile for you based on LinkedIn. So again, I would have a different password than your LinkedIn password, but you can come over, you know, just that's a security thing. But after that, you know, you're using your LinkedIn. I'm actually coming in with my Gmail account, but that's also my user ID for LinkedIn. Again, I'm a kind of a security guy, so I try to keep that all. You don't want to have the same passwords because then you're giving them away to everybody.
One of the things I know about this, and one of the things that I've seen with Veterati, is that it gives you when you set up an appointment, it sends you an alert before the meeting, and it's one of the really great services for reminding people of appointments.
Yes,
correct?
yes. I get all kinds of text messages, the 1 hour countdown, the 10-minute countdown, and then I get a call from the service saying your mentee's on the line, press 1 to connect. And so just understand that while that's a system doing all of that, I use the system because, again, I've got a lot of mentees now, and the only way I can keep them straight is with the system. And so that's what I'd like to show you now, is how I keep everybody straight.
Please, let's see that.
Okay. So again, I have I do LinkedIn. So I'm going to come over here to LinkedIn, and then the reason I show you LinkedIn is that I will have this messaging tool right here. And so some of you may recognize your names in the list here. I will have a dialogue with you before, and then I will have a dialogue with you after. I mean, again, mentorship doesn't stop just because we had a telephone call. Then in Veterati, you'll see that my window here, so I've got meetings coming up. I've got 3 meetings there. I've got another one. So I've got 4 meetings. And I only schedule 1 week at a time. And oh, by the way, next week I'm going back to work. So, you know, I'll be not having any meetings next week. And I will put the new meetings out there halfway through next week. Because I've learned that if I schedule them much further in advance, people start forgetting that they signed up for meetings. And, you know, that's kind of bad when you get a call, you know, and you're standing by, and then it's like, I'm sorry, but nobody picked up on the other side. So some more things that go on here. So again, it shows me how many meetings I've completed. Here's some of my latest calls. I can review all of the people I've talked to. It just goes on and on and on. Over here, I know that's kind of fast. But then on the left side, then I'm also getting reviewed by people. And so it looks like I even got a new review that I haven't even seen here. Thank you very much, Jeff, if you're on.
He's not.
That's fine. But, you know, and it goes on. But so then what I want to talk about now is, so I'm going to prepare for a meeting, right? So here's my next call tomorrow morning. And I've got Lorenzo. So what I do here is I can look and see what Lorenzo is going to do. So he's in Alexandria, which is near me. That's one of the things that I do, is I definitely talk to people about the local area and who the local employers are and so on. And he says he's a training director. He created and implemented curriculum. Okay. And I can also review down here. So yeah, but also down here, I can see what other people have talked to him. So I also am the person who's keeping the Veterati rock stars list. I did that just on my own on the side. And these are two people on the rock stars. So this person's already spoke to some people who are highly skilled at mentoring. This person here has over 300 hours. And Eli is one of the recent 100-hour people, but they also kind of give me a flavor of what he's looking for. So that saves us time. We get 1 hour on the call, and my, with all my vast experience or whatever, most of these calls go the full hour because people are amazed at what background I have. And the one, I say one thing and that leads to another question, and I say another thing and that leads to another question. It just goes on and on for an hour. So we don't want to cover territory that's already been covered, and so we do that by doing our homework before the call, seeing what they've already talked about, and then I'll also go over to LinkedIn. So what I do here is I'll just copy his name real quick. And I'll go over to LinkedIn and take a look at what's going on in LinkedIn. Make sure that we connect before the meeting. And I get a flavor. So we both studied at Park University. I wouldn't claim that as some reason why we should connect. He is active. This kind of shows activity.
We have that in common, though. There's a commonality, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But
I need to talk to him. I need to talk to him.
Yeah, well, so now his he could use some work on his LinkedIn. So I would recommend that he talk to Matt Scherer. Okay, and I think I've talked long enough. I will pass it back to you.
And I'll get that Dan sent me. And I'll get that Dan sent me hashtag, we have an official hashtag Dan sent me. So we're going to move on to how should I work with my mentor. So I'm going to take this, take the screen and move it back. Okay. So the question that, that we might want to ask people in the room is, how should I work with my mentor? And I see, Matt, I could share from a user standpoint if needed. Yes. Okay, Jason, you're allowed to ask a question right now. You can unmute yourself and please ask that question so everybody can hear it, okay? Did you hear me, Jason? Okay, good. So Jason, please share your question.
The question that I have is I have a lot of mentors. I think each one kind of has their niche, but how should I best approach them and not waste their time?
Okay, well, again, if you're using the Veterati system, I wouldn't say that you're wasting their time. They've blocked an hour off just for you, and so you have their undivided attention. If the call, you can terminate the call at any time if it's not producing value for either one of you. But again, I enjoy doing this so much, I have no problem talking the full hour. So
right,
I wouldn't be scared of if you're worried about them and their time. Again, we've allotted an hour to you, and we're glad to give it to you.
No, I've had great success with Veterati. Actually, I have one here coming up yet this evening, and most of them we hit it off. I go back through and have follow-up conversations with them as well. There's one, I don't know if the mentor himself was busy or what the case was, but it just didn't feel right.
And that's fine. I mean, again, so I guess there's two different types of systems. So again, I enjoy using Veterati because there's no contracts involved. I don't know if you guys have heard of American Corporate Partners, where basically you sign a contract that you're going to meet. You know, I'm going to meet every month. I'm going to meet whenever. But in my philosophy, if you're signing contracts to do mentoring, then you're kind of missing the point of mentoring. Okay. I'm here. I'm available. I have a day job. Okay. So the way I do my calls, I'll tell you, you know, that if you want to talk to me, you got to get on the Veterati system. But I will take emails. I'll take in-mails. I like the in-mails because there's a dialogue, a script, right? And I ask that you give me 24 hours to respond because, again, I'm not allowed to do social media when I'm at work. And so, again, like next week, I'll be indisposed, but I will, you know, get back to the emails. And then the following week, I'll take calls again. So before I end my calls, I always say this is how I do business. And so, again,
I have another question for you.
Yeah. Please understand how we do business and then work within those parameters we set up.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, Dan, I have another question for you. It's from Brandon.
Hey, Dan,
Yeah.
thanks for having us here and hosting.
Go ahead
and
and ask your question, Brandon.
I'm hearing Brandon.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep. Go ahead.
So how often would it be where perhaps you refer the mentee to another mentor who has a specific background for maybe a question or task procedure to be carried out? For example, let's say it was an industrial question or something business related in regards to maybe marketing or some sort of internet kind of advertisement or sales. Would you ever refer to like somebody you know who has that background and say, and kind of intermediate? Would you ever do that?
Right.
On
So
Veterati?
I'm going to take control of the screen. I want to show you what I can do there. So in Veterati, like LinkedIn, they have this search area here. And so what I do is, so say you said somebody in sales, right? So I can type sales in here and see who comes up actually in this one. So first off, at the end of a session, I will fill out the review, and then the last step of the review is recommend somebody, recommend other mentors. Right now I'm doing it without that routine going on, so I have to click the search button, but still sales should get me some people. So like, again, here's the queen of Veterati, Susan Scott, 366 hours. She knows something about sales. I don't know anything about sales, but then I can tag on the end of our call, and after I do my review, I can refer you to Susan Scott's. Again, here's Todd Scarborough, another one of the experts. I actually, you know what? Yeah, these people have some sales experience.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because sometimes they'll show me the rock stars, which basically means I didn't get a hit. So let me show you the rock stars. So I just click search, and they will give me the most prominent, you know, 366, 285, 187. So these are the rock stars. And I call a rock star anybody who's contributed an hour, 100 hours. And I keep a list of these people, and I publish it from time to time. And in fact, we have a new rock star that I haven't published yet. So Chris, if you're listening, be ready for your day in the sun, because I make a big announcement and we all chime in, and I get about 12,000 hits on those advertisements. Does that answer your question, Brandon?
It did. Perfect. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So can we share a war story here, Dan, with with somebody I also mentored, our gray balloon guy?
I think you're gonna take the screen back, right?
I am. So
Okay, go ahead.
this is the guy that you and I have both counseled. And what did you say about?
Well,
I fired him up.
wait a minute. Did you take back the screen? I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Okay. All right, I'm going to take the screen back. So, all right, let me go back a slide. So this is our man, Abel A. Martinez, right? You've mentored him. I mentored him, right?
Yeah. I still can't see what you're seeing.
I'm going to do it real quick. All right.
It'll have a better effect, Matt.
Trust me, there it is. So there's our man. When I met Abel A. Martinez, that's what his LinkedIn profile picture looked like, right? And what did he tell you about me when I talked to him that 1 hour about 6 months ago?
I mentored Abel Martinez at least 3 or 4 calls, but at somewhere along the line we talked about Matt Scherer, and Matt Scherer lit him up.
Yes, I did. That is true. I did light him up, and this is what I did. So he had that, and I said, go out and get your picture taken. And after he got this picture, 2 days after he got this picture taken, he was hired. So the mentors do help you, and they do ask tough questions, right?
Yes.
And let's talk about how people can become mentors after they've made that successful transition and they want to help others. What do you recommend there?
Right. So what I do is, I show people the Veterati system. People will contact me and they say, hey, Dan, I want to start giving back. And, they basically contact me because I'm pushing the Veterati Rockstar list or something like that. But you got to develop your story on what you're good at. So again, I can take the screen over again.
Please.
So let's see. I think the best way to show this is just through LinkedIn. I'll go to posts. Posts. Yeah, so this is my advertisement that I will post from time to time. And so what you need to do when you're joining Veterati, I wouldn't just join and say, hey, I'm available. You got to tell the people what it is what it is you do. So again, I'm in the Intel community. I was a government employer. I have been a government contractor. I have experience in the Washington, D.C. area. The intelligence community, geospatial intelligence community, the IT project management field, and the list goes on and on. But again, I have some experience with people who have, what do I want to be when I grow up? But there's probably better people to talk to for that. If you want to be the person who I transitioned successfully, and this is how I did it, then you want to write a paragraph that says something like that. Again, the more calls you take, the more you become, this paragraph here that I wrote here, I think was after maybe 30 or 40 calls. This wasn't day one, but over time, you learn what you're good at talking about and what you're not good at talking about. I mean, again, I've had people who, you know, the veteran community is large, right? And so you'll have the, what I call the habitually unemployed. I've had those calls, but, you know, sometimes people who are habitually employed are doing it to themselves. I mean, I can't help you if you're going to not listen and, you know, continue to complain or what have you. So, you know, I got to find people with, you know, those psychology degrees like Miss Destiny. I don't know if you guys have heard of Destiny Preet, but I would say that I would refer them to her because she's got a psychology background and she knows how to deal with people of all sorts. You know, this is what I do.
I'm going to take the screen back, my friend.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And we're going to wrap this up. So this is just a real short thing on mentors and how to get mentors and how to use Veterati. Does anybody have any other questions? Any other comments? So we're going to wrap up the webinar, but we're going to hang in the after room for a few minutes in case you all have questions. I'm going to hit the pause. I'm going to just do a real quick out. And so this concludes the CareerRecon 219 with my good friend Dan Collins.
Yeah, can you open it to where we're just Zoom conferencing? Yeah, I can't.
That's what I'm going to do right now.
Yeah, so I see everybody on the screen, I guess. Yeah.
For those who weren't in the conference. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let me do it one more time. Okay, so this concludes CareerRecon 219, the formal part. We're going to hang around for questions, and if you have comments, please stay in the room.